Hi everyone, my name is Cyrus and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if it's your first time here, welcome. Today I want to talk about small decisions. Recently I've been thinking a lot about small decisions and how you can never really truly know how any individual decision that you make has affected your life. You can have some ideas, but you can never really truly understand. And I often find myself thinking about that and just thinking about how things might have gone differently if you made a different decision in your life. Not that I'm regretting where I'm in my life by any means, but I think it's always just really curious and interesting to think about what would have happened if I had done this thing differently. What would have happened if I made that choice? And recently I've been reading a lot of books and watching a lot of TV shows and movies that have kind of made me think about that a lot more recently, just not maybe about my life, but just in general. In the books, in the shows I've been watching, you can see how these little decisions that characters are making have these ripple effects down the road for them. And just made me think about life a little bit and how little decisions that you make have ripple effects in life. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. Sometimes you never even know what that effect could be. But every decision that you make has some effect on your life. And I've just been thinking about that a lot recently. As a gamer and a nerd, I often think about this and kind of relate it back to video games. If you've ever played a game like Until Dawn or Detroit Become Human, you've seen how these whole games are based around decisions that you make. And in these games, what I find really cool is that you can see at the end of it, they have kind of a branch of, if you made this decision, this is what would have happened, this is what would have happened instead. And so when I think about this, I often think about video games and how sometimes blatantly, like in Until Dawn or Detroit Become Human, sometimes inadvertently, like other video games where you make decisions and they affect the outcome of the story. It happens a lot. But in video games, you can save. You can save your game, try a decision. If you don't like it, restart it and start again. But in real life, well, it's not that easy. It's not that simple. You have to live with your choices that you make, and so you have to make them a little bit more intentionally than in a video game. Sometimes you don't even know the side effects of what the choice that you're making is until years and years down the road. Some examples that I can think of is my grandfather. When he was a teenager in World War II, they lived in Greece, and there's this person who owned a beach, and he asked him to go around and see if there were mines and disarm the mines on the beach. Now, obviously, this is a crazy and dangerous task to be partaking in. My grandfather did it, and at the end of everything, the owner of the beach basically said to my grandfather, listen, I can either give you this part of the beach, and it'll be your part of the beach, you'll own it, or I'll give you this lump sum of money for you and your family. And so my grandfather took the money, because at the time, what is he going to do with the beach? The beach isn't going to feed his family. A few years later, him and my grandmother moved to Canada, and they used that money to move to Canada. And so it kind of brought him here. Without that happening, my dad would have never been born in Canada, and he would have never met my mom, and so I never would have been here. But now, years and years down the road, that beach that he could have owned part of is obviously now worth way more. A beach in Greece is worth way more now than, the little bit of money that he would have gotten at that time. But at the time, that was the best decision that he could make for himself and his family, and so that's the best decision that he did. Another example that's a bit more personal to me that happened in my life is I went to university for math, and at the end of my first year, I was finding that I really wasn't like my math courses. And all the courses that I was enjoying going to and that I wanted to go to were courses that were in the arts faculty. And so I was basically faced with a decision. Either I stay in math and hope that it all gets better, or I switch into arts and hope that I continue to like those courses as much as I was already liking them. So I decided to switch into arts, which was a really difficult decision at the time, but ended up being one of the best decisions I could have made. Because not only did I end up liking my classes way more and enjoying my time at university way more, but I also met some of the best friends that I ever made, that I've ever had in that program. Through those friends, I found this part-time job that ended up being one of the best part-time jobs I could have gotten. And through that part-time job, I actually met my wife. Not only that, I became valedictorian of the Faculty of Arts for my graduating class. There's a little photo of me right here, speaking at convocation. And so through this small decision of switching a program, all these great things happened in my life. All these trickle-down effects that happen in my life. So you never really know how one little decision can change things. And I'm sure if you sit down and actually think about your life a bit and think about decisions that you've made, you'll come up with countless examples of this as well, of different decisions that you made at different times in your life that have led you to become where you are today. But these are all examples where you can actually see tangibly the difference that has become from your choices. There are also probably countless examples of things that you'll never know because of the choices that you made. Examples of you decided not to go to this place And if you'd gone to that place in the alternate timeline, maybe you got into a car accident or something like that. You just never know about these other potential things that could have happened. That's part of what I like so much about books and video games. You can kind of get to see what would have happened to these characters had they made a different decision. And it's interesting to think about in life how we'll never know that. We just have to hope that we're making the right decision at the time. And that's all you can really do, is hope that you're making the right decision. And while I think that it's a super cool idea and concept to, like a video game, be able to know all the possible outcomes of choices that you can make, I think that ultimately I'm really happy that we don't have that. Because if we did, everyone would just be constantly sitting there trying to decide what's the best possible decision that I can make right now in terms of what's going to happen 10, 15, 20 years down the road if I make these different decisions. And it would just lead to this stagnation. In the board game world, we call it analysis paralysis, when somebody's trying to take their turn and they're taking too long. And I just feel like that's what would happen. Rather than actually making decisions and doing things in your life, everybody would be just stuck in this loop of what would happen if I made these different decisions. So although it sounds like a cool idea and concept, I think in practice, I'm happy that we don't have that we get to just experience it and kind of learn through life and learn by our mistakes. For me, I kind of just try and live my life by making the best decision I possibly can at the time with the information that I have available to me. And then really try my best to not beat myself up if that ended up being the wrong decision. Because at that time, I have to trust myself that that was the best decision I could have made. So you just really need to be kind to yourself. And with that, I also really try my best to be kind to others as well. Be gentle, be kind. You never know how, again, that small gesture, that small decision that you're making can really change somebody, right? That small gesture of kindness can change somebody else's life too. Another quick tangent into a story here. That part-time job I was talking about where I met my wife, that was giving campus tours at the university we went to. And obviously doing this, we give tours to countless different people who are thinking about coming to university. And I was really lucky and grateful to have it happen to me at least a handful of times throughout my time at university in this job, where I would meet somebody after being in this job for a year or two that would stop me on campus and that would say, "Hey, you gave me my campus tour. You're the reason that I'm here. You're the reason I came here. You're the reason I'm studying what I'm studying." And I just didn't remember them. I didn't remember that person. At that time, by that time I'd probably given hundreds of tours. And although that to me was maybe not a memorable experience, to them it meant so much. And that little thing that I did changed that person's life in some way. And so I always try to remember that not only are small decisions going to affect you and your life, but they're also going to affect other people and other people's lives. And so I just really try my best to treat people with kindness and respect. And sometimes that can be hard, especially in our current world where things are kind of crazy sometimes, but trying to remember that that is just a really important value to me, to treat others well. Because you never know. Sometimes that one small act of kindness can really make somebody else's day, can really change their day or their mood or even their life, depending how things go. And so, yeah, that to me is a really important thing, to try and make my decisions the best way that I possibly can. And on top of that, to treat others as best as I can while I'm going about life. Anyways, this is a bit of a shorter video, but this has been on my mind a lot. And I just wanted to share it with you all and hear what your thoughts are about it as well. I just think sometimes we need to be reminded that every decision that you make in life matters in some way. Every decision matters. And to me, this is kind of just a reminder of that, and a reminder that I need to be kind to people, especially now. So I'd really love to hear what your thoughts about this are in the comments below. Do you have any examples of ways that little decisions have changed your life in different ways? I'd really love to hear about them in the comments. And let's have a chat. Until next time.